Ever stumbled into something priceless while chasing the ordinary? An older gentleman had moved in across the street about a month earlier. He seemed pleasant enough, always offered a nod or a brief hello when I walked my dog. But beyond those polite gestures, we hadn't exchanged more than a handful of words. Then one Saturday morning, while I was washing my car, he came over looking hesitant. He explained that his backyard was completely overgrown. Weeds had taken over, bushes needed trimming, and he'd been putting it off for weeks. He asked if I could give him a hand, saying it would probably only take a couple of hours, and offered me $75 for my time. I figured, why not? I had no plans that weekend. $75 for a bit of yard work sounded fair, and it seemed like a neighborly thing to do. When I arrived, I realized the yard was a jungle. We worked most of the day clearing weeds and trimming bushes. As we worked, he shared how he'd lost his wife 6 months earlier and moved here for a fresh start. By late afternoon, we were exhausted. He invited me in for iced tea. That's when I saw the inside: boxes everywhere, furniture shoved into corners, picture frames stacked on counters. His kids had helped move him in but basically dropped everything and left. He was overwhelmed and didn't know where to start. Instead of leaving, I stayed. We spent hours unpacking, arranging his living room, setting up his kitchen, even hanging photos of his wife. He kept apologizing for taking up my time, but honestly, I was enjoying it. He had incredible stories about his job, trips with his wife, and he brewed amazing coffee too. Around dinner, he ordered pizza. That's when he told me he'd been living on fast food since he couldn't figure out his new electric stove after decades of using gas. So I showed him how everything worked, and then we made a proper dinner. Over weeks, I visited and helped. Sometimes it was fixing a wobbly table, setting up his TV remote, or helping him video call his grandkids, while he cooked dinners for us twice a week. We became close friends. 3 months later, he had a heart attack while I was there. I called an ambulance and rode with him to the hospital. His children flew in, but I was the one who knew his meds and daily routine. Nurses assumed I was his grandson. When he was discharged, he told me he'd been thinking about what would happen to his house when he dies. His kids lived far away and had their own lives. Then he offered something that floored me: he wanted to leave me the house in his will. He said I'd shown him more kindness in months than he'd had in years. Now, 2 years later, he's like the grandfather I never had. We have dinner most nights, watch old movies on weekends, and he's taught me to cook from scratch. I went over expecting to clear some weeds for $75 and ended up gaining family. Subscribe for more lovely stories.